Welcome back to Hoosier History, Legends, and Heroes. We are going to a time that I haven't really talked about before. The main focus of this video will be World War I, also known as the Great War. The war started on July 28, 1914, but the same as with World War II, America wanted to stay out of the war, which we did for a while. But on April 6, 1917, America would officially join the Allies and declare war on Germany. American General John J. Pershing was the commander of the American Expeditionary Forces. General Pershing was a mentor to generals who led the Army in World War II, such as Eisenhower and Patton. We will be returning to General Pershing a few more times as we continue with the video. On January 6, 1883, Samuel Woodfill was born to John and Christina Woodfill. Sam was born near Bryansburg, which is north of Madison, in Jefferson County. Sam was the fourth of the 5 Woodfill children. His father was a veteran of the Mexican-American War and the Civil War. As a boy, Sam loved it when his father's veteran buddies would visit, and they would sit around the kitchen table reminiscing of their time during the war. He decided that he wanted to be a soldier when he grew up, just like his dad. At the age of 7, Sammy got to shoot his father's muzzle-loading squirrel rifle. Being only 7, Sammy's dad knew he wasn't big or strong enough to just hold it and shoot. So, his father propped it up on a windowsill of their home and pointing it at the fence post in the chicken yard. Sammy took aim and hit the fence post on his very first shot. For 7-year-old Sammy, that was the biggest day of his young life. Later in life, Sam would say, "Maybe there are people who are born with silver spoons in their mouths, but I had no such luck. However, I did come near being born with a gun in my hands, and I've had one there almost ever since." By the time he was 10 years old, Sam was good enough with a rifle that he would take his father's squirrel gun and go hunting for food for his family. Still being small, he would have to prop the rifle on the stump of a tree to reload. When he was a teenager, he would get himself a Winchester .22. And also, it got to a point that if he wanted to enter the local shooting competitions, he would have to stand several yards behind the shooting line in order to make it more difficult for him because he was always winning. And I would imagine, even further back, he still would win the competitions. When Sam turned 18, he would join the military. At this time, America was involved in the Philippine insurrection. He would travel by train to San Francisco. This had to have been quite a trip for an 18-year-old who had never been further from the family farm than across the Ohio River into Kentucky to visit family. During basic training, he qualified for expert rifleman. No surprise there. With that distinction, he was given an extra $1 a month on his pay. After basic, he would be stationed at Leyte in the Philippines. He would serve there from 1901 to 1904. In 1904, he was back in San Francisco and discharged from the Army. By March of 1904, he was back in Indiana and spent time with his mother and 2 sisters. But Sam found life on the farm to be dull, and he was ready to be back in the Army. Sam would come across an article in the local paper stating that the 3rd Infantry stationed in Ohio would be heading to Alaska. That is all he needed to see. Sam took a train to Columbus, Ohio, and signed up. He found himself once again on a train heading to San Francisco, but this time, once he was there, he would be heading north. Sam would find himself stationed at Fort Egbert, Alaska. This was the furthest north that the American military would be. This was heaven for the huntsman that Sam was. he would become the fort's official hunter. And Sam was no longer hunting for squirrel, rabbit, and turkey. Now he was hunting for caribou, elk, and bear. Most of the time he would hunt alone, but at times other soldiers would join him. He kept the men well supplied with meat during his time there. When the 2-year tour for the 3rd Infantry came to an end, Sam had no intention of leaving Alaska, so he would leave that unit and sign up for the 10th Infantry. He would do this every time the unit he was with was ready to leave Fort Egbert. Fort Egbert was shut down in 1911, and the troops were transferred to Fort Gibbon. This would put him further away from the mountains, and the terrain was flat. There wouldn't be the hunting he had at Fort Egbert. He was at Fort Gibbon until July of 1912. His plans were to go home for a short visit, do another year or 2 in the military, and then make a permanent move to Alaska. Christmas of 1913, Sam is at Fort Thomas, Kentucky. And at a Christmas party, he would meet Lorena Wiltshire, whose nickname was Blossom. It wasn't long before Sam and Blossom started talking about marriage. The Mexican border war was heating up, so Sam and his unit, the 9th Infantry, were ordered to the border near Laredo, Texas. While he was in Texas, the soldiers would hear talk of the fighting going on over in France. Sam was still in Texas when America entered the war. Sam would be sent to San Antonio for Officers' Candidate School. After 2 months, he would become a 2nd lieutenant. He would be assigned to Company M, 16th Infantry. Sam was given a 10-day leave in December. On December 26, 1917, Sam and Blossom would become man and wife. April of 1918, Sam and his men would board the SS Philadelphia and sail to England. Once in England, they would ride in boxcars to cross the country to the eastern coast. Then they would board another ship to take them across the English Channel to France. Once again, they would travel by boxcar through France as far as possible. Then they found themselves marching the rest of the way to the front. The end of August of 1918, Sam and his company were sent to join the Saint-Mihiel offensive. Sam would become the permanent commander of Company M with the rank of captain. The offensive lasted from September 12th through the 15th. After the fighting at Saint-Mihiel, rumors started spreading that the American Expeditionary Forces had something major planned for the future. That rumor would turn out to be the Meuse-Argonne offensive. This offensive started September 26th and would last until the end of the war on November the 11th, 1918. During this offensive, Corporal Alvin York from Tennessee would perform his acts of bravery on October the 8th, for which he was awarded the Medal of Honor. I would imagine most people watching would have heard of Sergeant York. Sam's story happens near Canal, France, on October the 12th, 1918. He was given orders to take his men through a wooded area to find the German line and attempt to break through. They were east of the town and surrounded by what was left of the woods. Leaving the woods, they moved into a clearing, and as soon as they were in the clearing, German machine guns started firing. Men started falling to Sam's left and his right. Those still alive took cover the best they could, which was not good. Then the shells started falling while German machine guns kept them trapped down. Sam would tell his men to stay put while he took it upon himself to stop this barrage of gunfire, realizing going forward like this would just be suicide. Sam had to make a dash out into the open and was able to take cover just in time. At this vantage point, he was able to get a better idea of what he was up against. There was a sniper in a church tower and a sniper in a stable with 3 machine gun nests all facing his men. He knew he had to act. Knowing that the sniper in the church tower had the best view of the battlefield below, Sam would take him out first. Then he took out the sniper in the stable. He would clear out the 3 fully manned machine gun nests one at a time by taking the gunner out first and then each man as he tried to take over the gun. He would stumble across a lone German, and later, when he jumped into a trench, he found himself facing 2 more German soldiers. He survived these encounters as well. He would capture 3 Germans, sending them to the rear of the American lines. He did all of this single-handedly, and to make things even worse, early on he had come into contact with mustard gas. Sam would say that no German bullet had his name on it that day. Sam would realize that the Germans were in retreat, but the Germans were on both sides of him and his men. Sam had broken through the line, but now he and his men were alone with no support on either side. His men took up the fight and would find Sam in his latest position. Knowing they were still in trouble, Sam sent a runner back for new orders. The orders came for them to fall back. Sam and his men had pushed more than 200 yards into enemy territory, further than anyone else. Once they were back with the others, they would find out that they had been up against 4 German regiments. On the 14th, Sam would be sent to the hospital due to becoming ill from the mustard gas. On the 15th, with Sam in the hospital, his regiment would be sent into the Bois du Poultiers. During the fighting, over 1,000 men would lose their lives for a gain of only 550 yards. It took Sam 10 weeks in the hospital to overcome the effects of the gas. By the time he was released, the war was over. Armistice was November the 11th, 1918. Late in January of 1919, Sam would learn that he was being awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions on October the 12th, and that General Pershing would be presenting him with the medal himself. Sam didn't tell anyone, including his captain. He just asked for a few days' leave. His captain found out when the written orders came in. On February the 9th, 1919, General Pershing awarded First Lieutenant Samuel Woodfill with the Medal of Honor at Chaumont, France. Sam's citation would read, "While he was leading his company against the enemy, his line came under heavy machine gun fire, which threatened to hold up the advance. Followed by 2 soldiers at 25 yards, this officer went out ahead of his first line toward a machine gun nest and worked his way around its flank, leaving the 2 soldiers in front. When he got within 10 yards of the gun, it ceased firing, and 4 of the enemy appeared, 3 of whom were shot by First Lieutenant Woodfill. The 4th, an officer, rushed at First Lieutenant Woodfill, who attempted to club the officer with his rifle. After a hand-to-hand struggle, First Lieutenant Woodfill killed the officer with his pistol. His company thereupon continued to advance, until shortly afterwards another machine gun nest was encountered. Calling on his men to follow, First Lieutenant Woodfill rushed ahead of his line in the face of heavy fire from the nest, and when several of the enemy appeared above the nest, he shot them, capturing 3 other members of the crew and silencing the gun. A few minutes later, this officer, for a 3rd time, demonstrated conspicuous daring by charging another machine gun position, killing 5 men in one machine gun pit with his rifle. He then drew his revolver and started jumping into the pit, when 2 other gunners, only a few yards away, turned their guns on him. Failing to kill them with his revolver, he grabbed a pick lying nearby and killed both of them. Inspired by the exceptional courage displayed by this officer, his men pressed on to their objective under severe shell and machine gun fire. Thank you for watching part 1 of Samuel Woodfill, who's your Medal of Honor recipient from World War I. I hope you have enjoyed watching Sam's story, which started in southeastern Indiana, taking you to his heroic actions during World War I, for which he was awarded the Medal of Honor. This would not be the only honor he would receive. You will learn about that in part 2. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share. Click on the notification bell so that you will be notified when the next Choose Your History, Legends, and Heroes video is uploaded. Until next time,